Hi, I'm Rita Wilkins, also known as the Downsizing Designer. So tonight I'm babysitting my 3-year-old granddaughter, so if there's a little interruption, it might be that. But anyway, it's one of my favorite things to do. So tonight I want to, it's actually a little bit of a celebration because I'm going to be talking about 5 years later what I discovered when I decluttered and downsized my home and my life. So it was a little over 5 years ago when I downsized from a 5,000 square foot home in the country and I moved to an 867 square foot condominium in Philadelphia. I gave away 95% of my belongings, and I can honestly say I have no regrets and I've never been happier. So in the process, I discovered many things that I want to share with you tonight because many of you who are on Facebook with me and in my audience, you're just beginning the journey of decluttering and downsizing. So my intention is to inspire you, to motivate you, and let you know what's possible. Even though at this moment you might be looking at boxes in the attic, in the basement, in your garage, and just thinking there's no way, it's impossible. But if you're committed to decluttering and getting organized and possibly downsizing, you're in for the ride of your life. One that maybe in 5 years you too will be saying, I'm so glad I did it. And you might even be saying, why didn't I do it sooner? So learning to let go is a life-altering process. It changes you because you no longer cling to possessions for all the kind of wrong reasons. Like, I spent too much money on it, I might need it someday, or my kids might want it. We've all been guilty of saying this, and that's one of the reasons many of us hold on to things. So letting go and getting that muscle is definitely life-changing. So the process of decluttering and letting go, it's physical, it's emotional, and it's even spiritual. It allows you to make room for the people and the experiences that you really want and that matter in your life. And so let's face it, none of us is getting any younger. So if you've been thinking about decluttering and possibly downsizing, definitely getting organized. If you've been thinking about it for a while and maybe it's been on your resolution list or your New Year's resolutions list for a long time, the question is like, why wait? And if not now, when will you be doing that? So tonight I'm going to just talk to you about my top 10, I think it was 7 or 8 reasons, or not reasons, but things that I've discovered as I've decluttered and downsized my home and my life. So the first one is, don't let fear stand in the way of a new lifestyle that you might really want. So my primary audience is baby boomers who are in transition, in retirement or pre-retirement, and they're thinking about it. But honestly, this relates to all ages. If you want a simpler life, don't let fear stand in the way of a new life that you might really want. So for me, I had it with the big house, the big yard, and all of the maintenance and all of the expenses. I had no time, money, or freedom. I knew I wanted a simpler life with less, and so if it was going to happen, I had to downsize, I had to declutter. And I was motivated by a vision of living a simpler life with less. Nothing was going to stop me because that vision was so clear in my head, but I had to get over the fear of, what if I don't like it? What if it doesn't work? And I also had to get over the fear that I had of my tendency to procrastinate. And you know, I guess the bottom line is I would say that there's no perfect time to downsize or declutter. So if not now, when? So the second one is to declutter first and then downsize. Decluttering or learning to let go is by far the most important part of the entire process. It takes time, it takes a yeoman effort, and it takes a lot of focus. You have to want it and you have to be disciplined, create a schedule, work on it each day and each week, or it won't happen. And so remember, and I think I'm almost becoming famous for saying this because it's what works, one shelf, one drawer, one closet at a time. And the more you declutter, the more you see success, the more momentum will build. So before long, you'll see the progress, and then you'll become unstoppable. So the third thing that I discovered is if you do lose momentum and that motivation, give yourself a break and slow down for a little while. Give yourself some grace. You will get tired, you will get decision fatigue, and you will get overwhelmed and probably frustrated because you're human, and it's a huge task. So just slow down, hit the reset button after you give yourself a little bit of a break, and then get going again. And the fifth thing is you might second guess yourself along the way about your decision to downsize and declutter. So you might be saying, what if it doesn't work? What if I don't like it? So I will just tell you, it's not the end of the world. It's like any other risk that you take in life. If you don't like it, I guess that's one of the reasons that I recommend renting at this moment, because it's like putting your toe in the water, trying a new lifestyle, renting rather than buying, because if you don't like it, then you're not quite as committed, and you give yourself some more flexibility and mobility. Sorry, I've got allergies. So change can be scary for anyone. And, when you grow up with the thought of bigger is better, less is not necessarily better. But once you downsize and once you realize that you didn't need all of that stuff, frankly, you probably won't miss it. And you're going to realize how much simpler and easier life is. And the next thing that I discovered was the downsizing does require some adjustment. So when I moved from my very large home to my 867 square foot condo, it was rather radical, but it was also very exciting. So I guess I kept thinking of it as almost like an adventure. I'd never lived in a city before, so the idea of having so little to care for, no maintenance or anything else, it was very appealing. And of course, the idea of being able to walk anywhere was also exciting. But it did take some adjustment. So I had no guest bedroom, no dining room. So after 4 years in that kind of lifestyle, I made a decision to move and to come to my little historic village, where I had a 1,780-year-old home and 1,700 square feet with a full-time guest room and a full-time dining room, because that was the kind of lifestyle that I wanted. So the next thing was I found my passion and my purpose when I downsized and decluttered. When I decluttered and downsized, I had no idea that my story and my experience would inspire and motivate others to consider living with less so they too could live more. I had no idea that I'd be writing a best-selling book on downsizing and decluttering. And I also had no idea I'd be asked to do a TED Talk on why less is more. So I had no idea about, that I'd be writing blogs, that I'd be doing Facebook Lives every week, that I'd be being interviewed on national TV and radio. Anyway, all of this came about because I allowed myself to be vulnerable. So the vision was there. I wanted that simpler life. It was actually inspired by my trip to Senegal, to third world country, to see my son. And I followed that vision because it was so strong. I just wanted to not have as much. When I decided to downsize, I allowed myself to be vulnerable and share my story with audiences just like you. It was a story that wasn't always pretty. So hopefully over the years you've heard some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was not always easy, because it certainly is not. But one that it's a story I'll never regret. I'll continue to share for the rest of my life. It's a decision that I hope that you too will make, if that is what you want to do, and that you too can experience the power of living with a lot less. So have a good night, and I'll see you then next Tuesday.